Hi, welcome to the discussion that I had with Jenna Clifford earlier this year, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I did.
Hi, welcome to my podcast, and I've got Jenna Clifford joining me today, and I'm absolutely in awe and gobsmacked. Sorry, Jenna, but I really am. It's a big day for me.
And it's your birthday, which I think is so superb.
And it's my
Auspicious.
birthday. Yeah, so it's the best birthday present I could ever wish for.
Okay.
Jenna, I've always admired you, so it's an honor really and a privilege to meet you today. And because I've done research, I know about you, but I followed your career throughout the decades. And obviously we've got some heavy stuff to deal with today. But
Let's hope it's not all heavy.
Yes.
He's my brother.
I love your sense of humor.
Well,
I
you've got
really do.
you've got to have a big sense of humor in life, especially being born a woman. And I think in our age group, you're obviously a bit younger than me, but we in the same generation. But from my side, being born in the late 50s, it was a very auspicious time, as you know, because not only of the liberation and the sexual liberation and the Hollywood icons popping out and the world building for the space race, we were women, maybe a little bit ahead of our time. Do you understand?
Yes.
And now we grannies. Well, I am. You're still a bit younger.
Yes. I've got a grandchild.
Oh, well, there
Only
you go.
one, yeah.
Right.
It's amazing. Gina, there are many things that I like about you that I aspire to, and there are many parallels in our career. I mean, obviously I'm not on the same level as you.
I don't think any woman must shoot themselves down. Do you understand? Not on any level.
Yes.
Because if we qualify in a field of endeavor, it doesn't fully define us. It's one aspect of. And we can't all be great at everything. Do you understand? I have many cognitive deficits. At school I was known as Dumbo, and only to find out more or less what we would term later in life that I'm basically cognitively suffering with dyslexia. And that's not a massive thing. It's like anything, a bit of an impediment that might actually give you growth later in life.
Yes. Tony Factor was also dyslexic.
Correct, and I had the pleasure of meeting Tony Factor when I was in my 20s. And like a lot of captains of industry and people that go through challenges and transcend them, I had only met him because he'd got married to somebody my age.
Oh.
Do you understand? Which seems still typical today.
Yes.
In life. Hey, you sometimes get replaced.
Yes, it happens.
It does.
You become obsolete.
Not really. I think there's just shelf dates that victors put on victims, but we have choice, whether we victimize ourselves or we transcend the limitations that actually give us the energy to do that, usually through blind rage. But remember, two wrongs don't equal a right.
Yes.
So usually if you run the moral high ground, you shouldn't be Jesus Christ nailed on a cross. Do you understand? For being a saint.
Yes.
So we are progressing.
Cheers.
With my water bubbles.
Yes, we on the my dad used to call it Housenspoort because there was a dam near Grahamstown, which was the dam was called Water Dam. So he would say, I'm on Housenspoort.
Okay.
So that's where I am today.
Okay, well, hopefully much later in the afternoon with your birthday, we can celebrate with something mildly toxic.
Yes.
And I believe, like today, you have a very nice driver, so you can definitely have. Okay.
Yes.
So that's part of your birthday celebrations, yes.
Thank you. Gina, I love the animals, the pets that you love, and you're also an animal activist.
Yes.
And that's very close to my heart because animals can't speak for themselves.
Yes, just like most women can't speak for themselves. True. And children too.
True.
And older people. I think I'm probably like that, probably also because I'm born in the month of September, which is Venus and the Virgo, which is the grain grower and the producer of life. So I'm not centric to my own ego, but the month of September in the South Hemisphere is very beautiful because it starts spring and renewal and all of those things. But I've always been very, very passionate about the natural world. Always.
Like a rebirth in September.
I think also artists are more centric to being inspired by nature and life. So it's probably indicative, do you understand, of my deep sentiment. And I think that's the passion drivers in life with what we're most passionate about. Doesn't mean you'd always be great at it, but the harder you practice, as Gary Clay said, the luckier you become. And as Maxwell had said in modern day history with one of his premium business books, 10,000 Hours, the analogy obviously is indicative of what you do predominantly to transcend mediocrity to what should be greatness.
Yes.
Okay.
Jenna, you spoke about the dyslexia, but you know, it really, you conquered that, and
I actually didn't. I got ridiculed from it. So within the various ridicules, you need as a being to find something to shine. It's like being born and you've been in a shack fire and you're completely burnt. You are beautiful, but you are not beautiful for a beauty competition. It's that transcendence. Sometimes I've had the privilege of meeting people that have had the most horrific, life-defining moments of being 90% burnt, still come through alive as a child, still drive cars with no arms, still birth children with all of that. Now
that's conquering.
That's conquering.
Wow. But you're so erudite, and I mean your career, you know, I don't want to, can I say blow smoke up your ass? I'm not supposed to say that on camera.
Well, luckily, probably at some point, a few people used to do that. And in some way, it feels awfully strange if most of your young life you actually called infirm. So I suppose those are part of the balances. But I've also realized in my life, meeting diverse people and things, you can't put a label on everybody because personally it's only one dimension of them, you know.
Yes.
And luckily in life, if we're not taken young, we've got this opportunity to grow through things, to understand them, to back research them. In the old days, as you know, there were only books, and if you were very poor, you might have gone to a library. Do you understand?
Yes.
But a lot of people that haven't been infused with inspired reading due to poverty have never learned to read. Therefore, their children run the same. And it was very indicative in my household growing up with a father that was a plasterer and a mum that really was a teenager. Do you understand? Having a baby and not having any skill rate. The labels become irrevocably damaging, and we've just got to learn what we value and grow through it. So today, it's not just books, everything's available for us. Do you understand?
Yes.
Even in some cases when we don't have Wi-Fi, you can go to zones and have Wi-Fi.
That's something that I enjoy about you, because I'm an animal lover, a dog lover, but an animal lover. And in my research, I saw that I could hear the dogs barking in the background, and you would refer to them or let them in, or they would sit with you, and I thought that's so sweet. That gives
that might have been sweet, but it was actually driven from my career wanting to be a mum as well as a career.
Yes.
And that's quite a difficult straddle, particularly if you have more than one child, because if you're full-time working women, particularly in a trade, you have to work twice as hard to your male counterpart. So these are things. And then having animals and children, because you've got to have a sense of well-being. Many, many years ago, I realized that I needed to create a completely different trajectory on the jewelry business and be suitable for me as a girl in what was known as a male industry, like engineering and a lot of the other fields. And women are not infirm. They were just denied
The
opportunity of education, except in this country in more modern day history, because contextually, I don't believe that the limited white women that were afforded education were in any way reflective of us Africans and what was done to us. So contextually, I'm quite proud of the last two generations actually doing what they're doing. Remember, education does cost money and not everybody can afford it. But if there is a will, there's usually a way. And that's important.
Yes, and readers are leaders.
Yes, I love that one.
And yes, and I'm going to read your book. Success.
Okay, Secrets of Success.
Secrets of Success.
Okay, that book that I gave you for your birthday today is one of my long-term friends, Dr. Marco Saravanja, that was a monk, by the way, and pledged his life to build Orange Farm and put in schools and clinics, which he achieved many, many years ago. He then wanted to start a university. Can you believe that? From a monk.
Wow.
He did. So there are 3 major campuses around the world, and they lecture online in universities all around the world in probably 76 countries around the world. So he wrote that book. I just happen to believe that good books should be read by everybody. And if one gets a book, it's a good gift because it's there for life.
Yes.
As long as one reads it and applies it.
Yes.
Okay.
I remember as a child, my mother wouldn't buy toys because she was an avid reader on another level, but she wouldn't buy toys for us. So as a little child, you get this book, and I was so disappointed at the time at this book. And in those years, you used to get those frivolous magazines, Reiter and Swart. I don't know if you can recall.
Yeah, well, they were what we termed as little TV books.
Yes,
with
TV.
the little blurbs,
Yes.
so that you could have a pictorial story.
Yes.
Correct.
Pictorial story, thank you. And my mom would tear them up. She would
Yeah.
say, no, you're not allowed to read that. If you read, it's got to be substance. And so that resonates with me, is the reading.
Often what we hate as children, we see the value down the line,
Yes.
etc.
Yes, we do.
But that's
We do.
the age also of going through life,
Yes.
because it comes with different seasons, as you know.
Yes. I wanted to ask you, to get back to the children, I know I had a particularly difficult time being a single mom and trying to juggle my career, also in a man's world, being marginalized as we are. How did you then sort of create your own, I'm not trying to suggest...
A bubble,
A bubble.
I think you are referring to. In other words, taking a status quo and changing it a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, it did cause, I lost a lot of time with my kids, and you managed to hold on to your kids, and they're with you in the business today.
My elder daughter lives in the UK, and she immigrated about 11 or 12 years ago. So with the immigration and also getting married, she doesn't work in the business, and I'm a granny of 2 grandchildren.
Oh, no.
And I think it's a wonderful thing if any woman can give their children the full time, do you understand, the love,
Yes.
etc. But I also think it's imperative for women, and I'm not just saying my elder daughter, she did underpin her life with a proper degree, and I'm very proud of her. She actually passed her degree all A cum, and you must understand me as a woman that got a D matric. A D.
Join the club. Join the club.
Okay, it's still a pass, but I was no
Yes.
Einstein. So I think that's a privilege if people can do that. But I also think it's not a deficit as long as children's custodianship is safe and they've got other placebos that they always know their parents love them. They're always in safe custodianship.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of working people, working mums
True.
around the world. And I think the guilt that sometimes women inflict upon themselves becomes a double deficit, which is not a good thing. And how do you know women are telling you you're a bad mother? It's because they assume because you work that in some way you're going to be in deficit with your children. And that's not really indicative, because there are full-time mums out of there that are more in nail bars, hair extension bars, and brainless pursuits. And then they will put a label to themselves that they're a proper housewife and they're a great mother. That doesn't constitute that. That just might be a mole rat. Do you understand?
I love what you
So
say.
no negativity, you shouldn't judge. But I think depending on the being as a woman, I would just hope that any woman would want more for her children than possibly she had. And we
Yes.
don't only want more for the girl child, we want a balanced
Yes.
world, a sustainable world, and we want a world that things that are done currently and in the past are more balanced, because women are not infirm and they're not a subspecies.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And great religions might be wonderful, but they're also tax-free havens for their own agenda. Okay.
Yes.
As far as I know, born obviously in the late 50s, I've never seen a man birth a baby. So I still can't quite contextually understand why women are still relegated largely, and particularly in certain countries where their religion precludes girls from being educated past the age of 12. I think that is absolutely, personally, a bit shocking. And let alone the child brides. And I don't think our children in South Africa should be having babies between 8 and 11. And the statistics are over 10,000 registered births per annum in recent years, now ratcheting, and that's only reported. So all these things, I think, play a very big influence. Do you understand? And I don't think that we can contextually just speak business without putting the frame of other women, not just ourselves and our difficulties, being full-time working mums, and in some cases, sometimes single mums.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. I want to ask you, Jenna, when we talk about these young births in our population, I don't have a solution.
Well, it should be a state thing, actually, because governments are regulated, and if the driving age and the consent for licenses, etc., are at a certain age, anything under consensual age is rape, full stop, of a minor, and yet we flagrantly disregard all of this. It's absolutely amazing.
Yes, that I.
But we don't only want to talk on the negative.
Yes.
Do you understand? I just want to be very inclusive of all opportunities
And
for
all
any
rights.
children and their growth.
Yes. You spoke about your daughters. So 2 of your daughters have joined the business, and kudos and well done. And they've obviously got that artistic capability that you have.
Funny enough, my daughters have all posted really good school results, which I was delighted. They have definitely gone to 2 very superb schools.
Yes.
That have got good records and things like that, so that was nice. But I remember different generations. One of my younger ones, I had her when I was an antique. I think it was birthed to when I was nearly 43. So even in those days, because she's 23 today, I used to get more women saying to me, "What are you doing? Are you actually pregnant?" So it just goes to show they probably found that quite distasteful. Do you understand? Having a baby at that age. But a woman, you can birth until if you still got a period, you can birth in your 50s. Do you understand?
Yes.
You can still have Down syndrome children under the age of 30.
True.
And today, with the foods that we're eating and what they're spraying our foods and the air quality that we're all breathing, whether it's in South Africa or Shanghai or Beijing or Russia, we should all be very concerned about those things, not only money, because your carcinogen rate, women's breast cancer, ovarian cancers and all is all interlinked again. But I did have girls, I did want a boy, I must just tell you, and I'm very pleased to say I've got 2 very nice son-in-laws. Do you understand already? So in life, remember, if you don't get what you want in the beginning, it'll always come to you in a different form. So we must never give up hope.
Yes. And you do speak about the girls being in the business, and I know that you're very proud of that. And of course, I didn't have girls, wanted a girl, got 2 boys, and then fortunately, which is easier in a sense for the men to come into the business, but I think you've what's the word?
I would love to see more businesses with a mother's name and daughters, because my whole life I've seen things like Jubber in seuns, in sons, and sons.
I like it.
But with nearly 9 billion people on the planet, where's the companies with the mothers and their children? Not necessarily only daughters, but it might be nice to see.
Yes, Jenna Clifford and daughters.
Well, remember, I might be Jenna Clifford, but I just represent an essence of what I believe in. So I'm already an old lady. Hopefully, I'm inspiring some youth to take the possible best practice, no matter what has happened to them, and transcend it. But the one thing we have commonality about is without learning and practice or inquiry, one would stay the same. And we need to fast track most women and children to better understanding of themselves and start changing the curricula at schools, because our schools, even our best private schools, do not teach death and taxes, law implications, fiscal implications, health implications, and the deep need to train people not to burn energy. Do you understand?
I love that.
To have a deep sense of value, whether it's the air you breathe or the water you drink.
Okay.
It's vital.
2 things. So I want to come back to that, not to burn energy. So you're alluding to stress, right?
Not necessarily, because good energy is very buoyant.
Yes.
So it's a positive.
Yes.
Stress energy is basically your body going into cortisol, which is the flight drug.
Yeah.
And women in general will rather suffer in silence because they can't trust each other, because the system is an A-frame and it's taught to cleave, but they don't read contextually a history of any woman, and therefore you have to go to an abattoir, which means off with your head.
Yes.
And if you only lose a limb, well, you can limp along and you usually get wiser. But I think my philosophy has probably been from copious amounts of experience, probably being born in the female form. Do you understand?
Yes.
Where when you're younger, guys look at you, whether you're good looking or not, they just want punda. So even if you are a doctor, they still want punda, you know, and women have got to deal with a lot of these things,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
So, yeah, at least we're laughing about it.
Yes. Hi. So Jen and I had a short break, smoke break, water break, and so now I've got a surprise question.
Ladies, don't smoke, it's not good for your health, because I've smoked in a male's trade probably since I was 17, doesn't mean you must. That's why I've got a husky voice.
Yes.
But just remember, even twisping's not so good, so
Yes.
avoid it if you can. avoid it.
Don't work in the freight industry because then you'll swear a lot. The F-bombs. Jenna.
Start using words like fascinating.
Yes. Or it was Come Dine With Me where the woman said, shut the front door and fudge.
There you go. Those are actually better tonal words.
Yes.
And you can still feel very expressive about it, but not be too offensive.
Yes.
To your own soul. It's vexatious to the soul, but it does the same thing.
Yes. Just get rid of that.
Yeah, that was
stress.
Something one of my younger friends a couple of years ago was going through quite a tough time with health and, a few things. And when we were driving in the car, something went down bad, and she said, "How fascinating!" And I thought it was lovely. So
Yes,
I've used it quite extensively. I must just tell you.
Yes, I'll try
And
that.
you can really get that.
Yes.
Into it. Okay.
I'll try that.
So those are also good lightning tricks for a woman on a road in business, because in the boys' business, it's survival of the fittest and the strongest survive. So sometimes you've got to relax a little bit. And I also think women that work a lot, I know women like to go to gyms so they get seen and their nails and their boobs and things.
Yes.
It's a complete waste of time. You might as well garden. As long as you're in a safe environment, walking is one of the best exercises you can do. We should also teach our children younger to not only play one-centric sport, but something like golf is not only good walking, not only good exercise, it's also good for your mind. It also teaches you to focus. Same with tennis, same with swimming, etc., etc. We've also got to learn to move our bodies, because over years we're becoming more sedentary. Yes. And lifestyle diseases are creeping in. A lot of carb foods, a lot of sugars, a lot of things that when you read in the packet, if you actually go and look what's there, it's actually not good for you. Yes. And as a working woman, whether we live in flats, in a home or whatever, there's no excuse not to do little pots, growing walls and things like that. There's a great reward to it, and there's a great nutrition reward as well. And stress does eliminate nutrients. So that's another important thing. And I think women must also stop taking all these supplements, because they can also build up in your body and also not make you feel great. You know what I mean? Because it says it's good for you. Too much of a good thing isn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. So tell us about your rhino.
That was a project that was started many years ago, that actually moved slightly alien to me as a founder and my belief system, because, as I said, I've stuck to children, women's rights, and then animal rights. So basically, wild game animals is really putting a band-aid on a major bleeder. So it was a project many years ago that did create more awareness. But as I said, all wildlife in the world is under tremendous threat. Yes. Because populaces are too much for sustainability of the natural world. We have more bovine in the world with more emissions due to consumption. Yes. So all that has been really denuded, and it's going unabated. So I still think in women's survival and their children, we can't be putting band-aids on things. We've got to get to the crux of the fundamentals, and humans cannot live without bees and frogs, and that's basically happening. And in South Africa today, they are still spraying a highly lethal chemical called DDT, which is banned all around the world except in Africa and India. And we have vast populations, and these are genetic things that are going to run throwbacks. Yes. So that's my take on it. Yes. We need to ensure as women that the very gambits of the natural world, the people that are paid to actually guard them, should be doing their job.
Yes.
So I think being a philanthropist when you can't feed your own children and things is not to be recommended. Okay.
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that. That was on my list of questions. Was
Your tithing as a woman can even be to old age homes, etc. It's not always tithing of time. It can be donations. I think all of us need a special place in our heart that we do something, not just only on our father Nelson Mandela and, you know, the activism that happens around his birthday.
There you are, ladies, and for everybody watching. Do something constructive. Let's have one voice and take what Jenna said to heart, because we do know that South Africa uses DDT and it's highly toxic, highly poisonous. And be mindful when you buy red meat, because that is the biggest carbon dioxide emitter, is the production of beef in the world. So, but as Jenna said, we're putting a band-aid on something that's rife. But that's maybe a topic for another discussion. But
well, from a business perspective and from a family where you're heading a household as a woman, etc., or a married family, what you eat is material. And remember, profits sometimes cause a lot of people to lie. There's been completely international brands on baby formula milk where they'll bring the protein up with melamine. Melamine is not to be consumed. That's the point. And same with animal foods by what they've done. And these are some of the best brands in the world. So we must just make sure as mothers, as women, as businesswomen, custodians, etc., that we stop believing everything that we read about. That's the bottom line. We do have a wallet where you spend it. If everybody was conscious, the world would be a better place.
absolutely.
Yes.
And if there were more women in power, because we've got, I mean, just generalizing, there's testosterone and we don't create wars. But there's, I don't know if I'm correct, and my learned friend Jenna will correct me if I'm
Well,
wrong.
just remember your learned friend Jenna only had a D matric, okay? But it doesn't actually stop anybody from cognitively reading any learning paper, literature, or whatever. Have an inquiring mind. It's good for you.
Yes. Inquisitiveness or an inquiring mind, I think, is almost the start of intelligence and leads to other things.
Correct.
And now I've got attention deficit, so now I've lost my train of thought, and I need to think back of the question, which was, my learned friend Jenna will correct me if I'm wrong. It was about women and...
You clearly got bubbles of questions you want to ask.
Yes.
Do you understand? But it might be interesting, I think, with any of the listeners, etc. We've all got diverse questions. So hopefully
Yes.
this starts you on this great inquiry, you know, even writing down questions, you'll be surprised where you can find the answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say, is there seems to be a general apathy, and I don't know if I'm going to offend you, but not only with men, but with women. Like, we need to be more opinionated. We need to be more motivated to speak out against things, and stand together. And do you agree?
Probably yes, but I also think it starts on the back end of generations and their status quos. A lot of people just don't want to speak up because there's such a thing as shoot the messenger. There's such a thing as kill the whistleblower. So these are deep threats. So I think if women actually understood contextually a lot of their history, their cultures, what has happened to them, you often see perpetrators in female forms because it happened to them. They'll do to their daughter-in-laws or whatever. Okay, so it carries on revolving. Life's never been easy. It's never been easy even in birth. There is a struggle in birth, whether it's a C-section or a tunnel delivery, as I call it, you know,
Yes.
through the immaculateness of our bodies, there's risk. So I always say in these risks, if you're too scared, usually the worst things happen. So to always go through processes and try and keep yourself in the midpoint.
I don't know if this is a, sort of a too wide a subject and too simple a question, but how does one, in this patriarchal world, how does one stand up for yourself? Because I just did my own thing, like you did. You said to hell with everybody else.
But I still think knowledge is power.
Yes.
If it keeps on happening and it's not documented properly, you can't contextually navigate. Today we have Garmin's in cars. Before that we had road maps.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
to make a road map, because we don't all have the same challenges, you do know that.
Yes.
But there are similar ones, I understand that.
Yes.
But you need to find a way forward. So usually a bit of insightful mind to ponder.
Yes.
Yeah, and remember there's also such a thing as sometimes people are too busy for success.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you ever find yourself in a position like that? Well, I mean, that's a silly question because you are highly successful. But did you ever get too busy?
I also want to adapt that anybody that's done well in a field, you're only as good as your last success
True.
in this world.
True.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So one's got to be growing the whole time.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You just do.
Yeah. You were talking about taking a vacation. Are you going to?
Well, I think I've worked since I was at school. Do you understand? I didn't grow up with a silver or gold spoon in my mouth. And that was probably a great blessing because it does make you a little bit more competent, if you know what I'm saying. Most schools don't know how to mow a lawn. Most schools don't know how to change a wheel. Well, they do now, but in our day they didn't. So I was subjected to all of that. And at the time it probably wasn't very nice for me, but I'm very glad it did happen because it does give you slightly more skill rate. And that leads to a better sense of competence, etc., etc.
Yes.
Doesn't it?
Of course.
Yeah,
Of
it's
course.
just multi-skilling then.
I've got to be honest that I still can't change a tire.
Well then, as long as you're not driving after hours alone, because it could be very compromising.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I see there's a little tool that you get that blows your tires up. I think I'd have to get one of those because it is a concern. I mean, God forbid. What is one going to do?
Well, they've had that for many years, but women should also know about those. It's an emergency gas cylinder that actually blows up your wheel and seals the leak on a temporary basis. It's not something to stay, but it is a lot better for a woman to effectively do that rather than go to a boot, get out a jack, etc. Because we do have very high violations in South Africa. And things like that. We're known for it.
Yes. Gina, what can we expect from you in the future? What
you were asking me about why I want to take a little break.
Yes.
I think anybody occasionally does need a holiday. And remember, South Africa and the world had quite a big meltdown. In that COVID was a globalized affair and actually changed a lot of fiscal properties and a lot of implosions. So the world has changed. So sometimes in life, you as artists, as I've explained, sticking in and just taking a weekend off is sometimes not a good break. And most of my life, I've been quite diverse to be an artist, businesswoman, do X amount of charity, etc., which means you're a little bit busier than somebody that doesn't have children yet or whatever. Do you understand? So I think a break occasionally is a good thing. It's not necessarily a thing. It's something I just think would be good for me as an artist. Because you get in a rut, so by taking a break, you've got time to expand your thinking.
Yes, and you become more creative.
Yes.
Or
Well,
you
can be
rejuvenate
creative.
yourself. Yes.
It's a feeling.
Yes.
It's a feeling, exactly. I just haven't decided what I want to do yet.
Yes.
Because I quite like gardening. It makes me very creative. But basically I've gardened most of my life. You know, do I want to start another garden? You know, so I might decide. I used to paint when I was a child, and it was very expressive for me. So I might choose that, but I need time to contemplate it. Do you understand?
Yes. Why don't you do a beautiful painting and sell it for charity?
That's very cute. I don't think they'd want one of my paintings, but we do quite a bit for charity. Do you understand? Within our field, yes.
Yes, I know you
So
do.
I'm unlikely to take one of my paintings. Remember, I didn't do fine art, so I'd be a bit embarrassed, but anyway.
That's one of the things that I admire about you, is your philanthropy.
Oh, well, that's good, thanks.
And you've been so kind to me. This is
It's our pleasure. I think if all of us bothered with one another, etc., the world would be a better place.
And I'll pay this forward. I definitely
That would
will.
be so nice. I think if every woman that pays things forward, that's the best outcome. And I believe there will be growth from that.
Yes. Ladies, pay it forward. Do something kind. And I know Jenna's motto, if I can call it that, is be kind. Because in my research...
Be kind but not stupid. Because kindness is sometimes seen as an act of weakness. It's not.
I'm glad you said that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Lovely chatting to you.
Yes. I just want to know before we close off, what are your plans? Because one of the questions I had was that Jenna has achieved so much. Is there anything else left for you to achieve? Because
it's again, if you're an artist, there's always a lot more to do. Okay, so I'll let you know when I know.
Okay.
But in recent history, we started a whole new division of literally what I believe in, home and hearth. That's art, but art to eat off, drink out of, and whatever. So public might not really know about that. Some do. But like anything, you start and you must grow the love.
Yes.
Do you understand? I believe in families.
Yes.
I do.
Where is your crockery and your new ranges? Where are they available?
Right here in our head office and our other distribution points. So I'm sure all of your people will be able to find us. It's a Google away.
Okay, so there we go, ladies. To close off, please have a look out for Jenna's crockery. I've seen some
and glassware,
and
because
glassware.
It's hearth and home.
Hearth and home.
So anything that you've got in your kitchen, we don't make everything, but we make it very special at Jenna Clifford. It's usually imbued with a bit of love.
So birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, Jenna Clifford, and I am definitely going to be taking a look, and I can let you know on my next podcast. I'll be sipping wine out of my Jenna Clifford glass. Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Jenna.
Pleasure. It was lovely.
Thank you so much for watching, and until we meet again, au revoir.